The dust swirled around Eli's bare feet as he sprinted across the cracked earth toward Willow Creek School, his laughter trailing like a kite in the wind. To anyone watching, he was just a boy, 10 years old, with a grin that could charm the clouds from the sky. But to Miss Clara, his fifth-grade teacher, those bare feet told a story, one she couldn't ignore. Every morning, Eli arrived at school shoeless, his toes caked with the red clay of rural Georgia, his soles tough as leather but vulnerable to every sharp stone. Clara had seen poverty before in this small town of Willow Creek, where the cotton fields stretched farther than opportunity, but something about Eli's quiet resilience tugged at her heart. She didn't know his full story yet, but she knew enough. This boy needed shoes, and she wasn't going to let another day pass without doing something about it. Clara stood at the classroom window, watching Eli kick a pebble like it was a soccer ball, his friends cheering him on. The other kids wore sneakers, worn, some with holes, but sneakers nonetheless. Eli never complained, never mentioned his bare feet, even when the asphalt burned in the September heat or when winter's chill crept through the school's thin walls. He was the kind of kid who shared his pencil stubs, who helped younger students with their math, who made everyone feel like they belonged. But Clara saw the way he tucked his feet under his desk, as if hiding them could make him blend in. She'd asked him once, gently, why he didn't wear shoes. "Don't need 'em, Miss Clara," he'd said with a shrug, his brown eyes bright but guarded. "Feet are free, right?" She'd smiled, but her chest ached. Freedom wasn't the same as choice that evening. Clara drove to the general store on Main Street, her teacher's salary stretched thin but her resolve thicker than ever. The store smelled of cedar and old leather, and the clerk, Mr. Hensley, greeted her with a nod. She picked out a pair of sturdy blue sneakers, size 6, guessing Eli's size from the footprints he left in the classroom's dusty corners. They weren't fancy, but they were strong, with soles that could withstand the miles Eli walked to school each day. At the counter, she hesitated, then added a pack of socks. "For a student," she said softly when Mr. Hensley raised an eyebrow. He didn't pry, just rang her up and slipped an extra pair of laces into the bag. "Good on you, Clara," he murmured. She nodded, her throat tight, and headed home the next morning. Before the school bell rang, Clara slipped into the locker room, a narrow hall where students stored their bags and jackets. Eli's locker was easy to spot, number 17, with a dented door and no lock. She placed the sneakers and socks inside, wrapped in plain brown paper, no note, no name. She didn't want him to feel embarrassed or indebted, she just wanted him to have shoes. As she closed the locker, she heard the first wave of students arriving, their voices echoing like a flock of sparrows. She hurried to her classroom, her heart pounding with a mix of nerves and hope. Eli found the package at lunch. Clara watched from the corner of her eye as he opened his locker, his movements slow, curious. He unfolded the paper, and his eyes widened at the sight of the sneakers. For a moment, he just stood there, one hand tracing the laces, his expression unreadable. Then he glanced around, as if expecting someone to claim the gift. No one did. Clara busied herself with grading papers, her cheeks warm. Eli slipped the socks and sneakers on, his bare feet disappearing into the blue canvas. When he walked into the classroom, his steps were different, lighter, almost cautious, like he was testing the ground beneath him. He didn't say anything, but when he caught Clara's eye, he gave her a small, knowing smile. She smiled back, and that was enough. Word spread fast in a town like Willow Creek. By the next day, the other kids noticed Eli's new shoes. "Where'd you get those, Eli?" asked Sarah, a girl with braids and a gap-toothed grin. Eli shrugged, his cheeks pink. "Found 'em," he mumbled, but his eyes sparkled. The kids didn't press, but the teachers whispered in the break room. "Someone left shoes for Eli," said Mrs. Porter, the history teacher. "Bet it was Clara, she's got that kind heart." Clara deflected, saying nothing, but the idea took root. If one person could help Eli, what else could they do? The ripple began small. 2 days later, Sarah arrived at school with a new backpack, not for herself, but for Tommy, a shy third grader whose bag had split open weeks ago. Sarah's mom, a single parent who worked at the diner, had scraped together enough to buy it. "Eli got shoes," Sarah said simply when Clara asked. "Tommy needed this." Clara's eyes stung, but she nodded, pride swelling in her chest. The next week, Jake, a lanky 7th grader, brought an extra lunch for Mia, a girl who often went hungry. Jake's dad, a mechanic, had packed 2 sandwiches instead of 1. "It's no big deal," Jake muttered, but his grin said otherwise. The acts of kindness multiplied, each one a pebble dropped into the pond of Willow Creek. The school janitor, Mr. Lyle, fixed the wobbly desks in the second-grade classroom without being asked. The librarian, Miss June, started a book drive, filling the shelves with stories for kids who had none at home. Even the students got creative. A group of 6th graders organized a coat swap, trading out grown jackets for ones that fit. Clara watched it all unfold, her quiet gift to Eli sparking a chain reaction she'd never imagined. But the real surprise came when she learned Eli's story, not from him, but from the town itself. It was Mrs. Hensley, the store clerk's wife, who filled in the blanks. Clara ran into her at the post office, and Mrs. Hensley, never one to mince words, leaned in close. "You know about Eli's mama, don't you?" she asked. Clara shook her head, her stomach tightening. Mrs. Hensley sighed. "She's been sick for years, cancer. Eli's daddy left when he was a baby, so it's just the 2 of them. They live out by the old mill, in that trailer with no heat. Eli walks 3 miles to school every day, rain or shine, 'cause his mama can't drive no more. He don't wear shoes 'cause they can't afford 'em. Everything they got goes to her medicine." Clara's hand flew to her mouth, her heart sinking. She'd known Eli's life was hard, but not this hard. The image of his bare feet flashed in her mind, each step a testament to his love for his mother, his determination to keep going. She thanked Mrs. Hensley and drove home, tears blurring the road. That night, she couldn't sleep. Eli's smile, his quiet strength, haunted her. She'd given him shoes, but he needed more, so much more. And yet, he'd never asked for anything. The realization hit her like a thunderclap. Eli wasn't just a boy with no shoes, he was a boy carrying a world of weight, and he did it with grace. The next morning, Clara called an emergency staff meeting. The teachers gathered in the break room, coffee mugs in hand, their faces curious. Clara took a deep breath and told them everything about Eli, his mother, their struggles. She didn't mention the shoes, but she didn't need to. The room fell silent, the weight of Eli's story settling over them. Then Mrs. Porter spoke up. "We've got to do something. For Eli, for his mama, for all of them." Ideas flew like sparks. A fundraiser. A food drive. A community effort to fix their trailer. By the end of the meeting, the teachers were buzzing, their eyes bright with purpose. The school rallied first. The students, inspired by the small acts they'd already started, threw themselves into the cause. They made posters, collected donations, and spread the word. The principal, Mr. Davis, reached out to the town council, and soon, Willow Creek was alive with compassion. The diner offered free meals for Eli and his mother. The hardware store donated supplies to insulate their trailer. The church organized a clothing drive, and the local doctor, Dr. Patel, offered free checkups for Eli's mother. Clara watched it all, her heart swelling, but she couldn't shake the fear that Eli might feel overwhelmed, exposed. She pulled him aside one afternoon, her voice soft. "Eli, you okay with all this? People wanting to help?" He looked at his sneakers, scuffing them against the floor. "I didn't ask for it, Miss Clara," he said quietly. "But Mama's been smilin' more. That's worth it." His eyes met hers, and she saw something new. Gratitude, yes, but also pride. Not shame, but pride in his town, in his people. Clara nodded, her throat too tight to speak. The emotional climax came on a crisp October evening, at the town's first ever Willow Creek Unity Fair. The school field was transformed, strung with fairy lights and filled with booths, food, games, music, all to raise money for Eli's family and others in need. The whole town turned out, from farmers in overalls to the mayor in a tie. Eli and his mother, Lena, arrived hand in hand, her frail frame wrapped in a donated coat, her smile radiant despite her illness. The crowd parted as they walked, not out of pity, but respect. Clara stood near the stage, her heart pounding, as Mr. Davis took the microphone. "Tonight," he said, his voice carrying over the field, "we celebrate what makes Willow Creek special, our heart. One small act, a pair of shoes, reminded us what we're capable of. Eli, Lena, you're not alone. You're our family." The crowd erupted in cheers, and Eli's mother wiped her eyes, pulling her son close. Eli, usually so composed, let a single tear fall, his sneakers gleaming under the lights. Clara felt her own tears spill over, not just for Eli, but for the beauty of humanity, the way one spark could light up a whole town. The fair raised enough to cover Lena's medical bills for a year, to fix their trailer, and to start a fund for other families in need. But more than that, it changed Willow Creek. The kindness didn't stop. Neighbors checked on each other. Kids shared what they had. The town, once divided by hard times, found its heartbeat again. Eli still wore his blue sneakers, now scuffed and loved, but he walked taller, his feet no longer hidden. He told Clara one day, as they cleaned the classroom together, "I used to think being poor meant being alone. I was wrong." Clara smiled, her heart full. "You were never alone, Eli. You just helped us remember that." As the sun set over Willow Creek, painting the sky gold, Clara looked out at her town, her home, and knew this was only the beginning. One pair of shoes had started it all, but the steps they took together would carry them far.